What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Dylan. Welcome back to another awesome word of the day, coming to you at about 6:52 p.m. my time. By the time this is uploaded, it'll probably be about 7:15, 7:30 by the time you all are watching. So, I am really sorry for getting the word of the day up later than usual. I know usually it's at 10 a.m. I don't have any excuses, so let's just go ahead and get started. All right, for today's word, if you have your trusty Bibles out, please go ahead and turn to Matthew 18. I'm going to be reading from verses 15 to 20. So, starting in verse 15, Jesus says, and look at this, I even got a red letter Bible. How cool is that? So, Jesus says in the words in red, starting in verse 15, if another believer sins against you, then go privately and point out the offense. If the other person listens and confesses it, then congratulations, you've won that person back. But if you are unsuccessful, take one or two others with you, and then go back again so that everything you say may be confirmed by two or three witnesses there. Then finally, if that person still refuses to listen, take your case to the church. Then, if he or she won't accept the church's decision, treat that person as a pagan or a corrupt tax collector. For I tell you the truth, whatever you forbid on earth will be forbidden in heaven, and whatever you permit on earth will be permitted in heaven. I also tell you this, if two of you agree on earth concerning anything you ask, my Father in heaven will do it for you. For there were two or three, or four, or five, or 100 are gathered in my name together as my followers, I am there among them as well. Really, that could be two devotionals in one, but we're just going to focus on what Jesus talks about correcting another person. So, who here has social media? Raise your hand if you're listening virtually and you're watching virtually and you got social media. Yeah, I know, right? I'm pretty sure anyone under the age of 60 has social media nowadays, unless you just prefer to live life off the grid, which good for you if you do. But social media is a very uh, it can be a very positive experience and something that's really good for people. It allows us, to connect with family members and loved ones and friends who maybe we don't see as often, or maybe we're not able to talk with a lot, but like we can see them update their lives, post pictures to the internet, and it's really awesome because it's like our way of keeping up with them. But social media also has some very negative things, especially the ability to have arguments and say things we shouldn't or that we don't mean, and just be a typical keyboard warrior and just say whatever we want to say because this person's not in front of us. Well, I remember one time to where back when I was younger and I was a little bit more of a hothead than I am now. Um, I remember I posted something against Pride, just like Pride is stupid. Why do people celebrate it? It's completely, I mean, and it is a whole bunch of liberal propaganda, but, oops, sorry. Anyway, so essentially, this woman who was a Christian got on my Facebook and we started arguing back and forth about, is homosexuality a sin? Is it not a sin? Stuff like that. And then needless to say, she ended up blocking me. Eventually, 3 months later, I ended up seeing her again at church, another church I was visiting at the time, not Salina Church of the Nazarene. And we made it right. We apologized and everything. But needless to say, yeah, she had unfriended me on Facebook just because of that whole thing. But still, it kind of goes back to what Jesus is saying, and what he does in verses 15 through 16 and 17 is he creates what I like to call the three-step messy system for how to actually handle a situation either in the church or something you're dealing with personally when it comes to conflict. So, the first step that Jesus talks about, right, starting in verse 15, is he's talking about if someone is doing something wrong to you, or if you see like a friend or someone you know that is doing something wrong, do you go out and like, gossip about them in church? Oh, like that's not happening all over the place. We all know people don't gossip in church. No. So do we go about, gossiping all over the place, like this person's doing that, or talking behind people's back? No, of course not. Jesus is saying what you do in the first step is you go to this person in person, not on social media, and you talk to them privately, seeing if you can work it out or try to get them to see the error of their ways. And then if they back off and they admit that, like they feel convicted of the Holy Spirit through the words that you're saying to them, that's excellent. Congratulations, you've won a brother or sister back. But if they're being stubborn and they're just continuing to come against you, or they refuse to listen to what you have to say, then the next key thing is have protection for you and also for them as well, right? Like you don't want them going around accusing you of saying things you didn't do, or maybe you accuse or maybe the person trying to do the correcting is accusing them of something that isn't true. It instead of getting into a whole battle of he said she said, for your own protection, make sure you're not with this person one on one. You have friends with you, people you trust, that can also go with you and help you in trying to bring about correction or solving a problem, right? And finally, the third and final step, um, Jesus talks about bringing it to the church. Actually, what Jesus is talking about is bringing a person who you have something against. He's talking about taking them to the courts to sue them, to handle the situation. And that's because back in biblical days, uh, the synagogue not only acted as a place of worship and gathering, but also it was like a court system that people would uh, take people to. Today, of course, in church, how you handle church discipline is most likely they suspend your membership, or the pastors, the leadership, or the church board, or church authorities will try to work with that person to get them back on track with God. Um, but needless to say, for us, I think really what that means is you distance yourself from that person. Don't engage with them. Don't be near them until they're ready to talk, or until you're ready to talk, until you're really able to handle things. Um, and that's just common sense, Don't, it's never good to engage in tit for tat or to respond to somebody when they're trying to come against you. Absolutely stand your ground in love, but at the same time, uh, we got to take the high ground, because by taking the high ground, you actually are showing that you are the better person. And this is exactly, I think, what Jesus really wants us to get, that Matthew is recording in this gospel, is this three-tier messy system for how to handle conflict. That what's private should always be private. Don't slander, gossip about others. Try to handle it as lovely and peacefully as you can. Have protection around you, friends and family, and distance yourself if need be. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on today's Word of the Day. So happy to be with you. I'm going to go out now, go take a walk. But until then, my friends, I will see you next week. And always remember that